Good evening, Sir and Sirits. I'm your host, Blackclone here, and today I am with the Empress. And I'm here with the Noob... Is it Starter?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here with the Noob Starter. You gonna introduce yourself?
Noob Starter 48 in the house. How's it going?
Thought you were gonna do that. Hello! That's what I was looking for.
Oh man, I wish I could have voices in that range. Could be a voice actor.
Maybe, but it tends to be stressful at times.
You make a lot more money with a lot less work.
Maybe.
And,
People were hiring!
and welcome to Life, Death, Insanity Podcast. Oh, cheesy first.
I'm going to wreak havoc the whole time.
Yes. This is more of an introductory podcast to let you guys get used to the cast. And as a fair warning in the future podcast, we will contain graphic thoughts, explicit language, and mature subject matter. We will be talking about life, death, and in the insanity of our own thoughts. Our podcasts are mainly meant to be thought-provoking and to give you a little bit of an insight in the mind of what true insanity can be like.
Yep. Only, there might be some controversial topics that we might touch, and may end up having to disregard anybody's feelings. But that's mostly in the case of thought and opinion. After all, opinions do matter.
Yes.
Ha
And as a follow-up, most of our topics will be opinion because it is based on our own thoughts. So most of it will be opinion-based. If you guys disagree, well, then think on it. Because, well, this is meant to be a thought-provoking podcast. Isn't that right, the Empress?
Yes, it is meant to provoke your thoughts. Maybe spark up some controversial... make you talk, make you think.
Yes.
Something to have a conversation over dinner about.
It's one of those, what is the main purpose in life type of moments, when you're having a, good sit down with your family and you think, what is my purpose in life?
And then all of a sudden somebody just comes by and just says, you know what, your purpose is to be... get us money, get us a retirement. Fuck you.
I mean, that's how some people think of it.
Yeah.
What about your opinion, the Empress?
We're waiting.
Indeed.
Wait longer.
Do you not have an opinion on what is the purpose of life?
I really don't, because there's so many purposes, so many views on it.
Well,
I don't have my own.
Go ahead and talk about it. What do you think fits you the most? Is it...
I'm still trying to find myself.
Because many people, when you think about, life, the main purpose of life, most people tend to think it's about enjoyment. But the thing is where do you get that money for enjoyment? You know what I'm saying?
Well, most time people tend to just say, we just mostly get it out of hard work and labor and mostly what we can do off the backs of our own muscles and all. Even what nerves we have left. Actually, at the end of the day, how long can we even hold that up? How long?
Okay, then. Another thing that people say is the purpose of life is to breed and reproduce.
And that's a little bit too simple. Because that's just the bare minimum.
I mean, it really is.
What's the point of reproducing if there is no reason to reproduce?
It's like there's no end goal to it. No actual overarching anything, actually. It's just keep populating till we can't populate anymore.
As I'd say, the main point is, like, why repopulate? Like, is there a reason why, like, you yourself should repopulate? Like, why should your DNA continue even after thousands of years of reproduction?
Yeah.
Like, what gives you that right for your genes to pass down other than somebody else's?
I guess mostly just to have what people would say a legacy, or to actually think that they might actually have a chance to actually make a name for themselves. But what's the point of that if we don't have an end goal for each other, or anything for us to look forward to, or even setting a future for the potential offspring?
The prodigy.
Yeah, but it's like, what is the point in having a future set for your offspring if they don't want to follow that future? Because look at parenting nowadays, you know? Like, most successful parents want their children to follow in their footsteps, but what if that child doesn't want to follow in that footsteps? The question is, are you going to keep forcing them to follow into that footsteps? Or are you going to let them do what they want to do that makes them happy?
Well, about that, my family had a history of that, actually. So I kind of understand where you're coming from. But being forced into a role is not a good thing. It's really not. It tends to really mess someone up, and usually has a high rate of failure every single time, and parents don't even realize it. Because the potential of having a successful child is to allow them to grow for themselves, allow them to actually participate, not to shut them out, not to shoot them down, in which parents have a bad habit of doing. And every time they do so, it does not help.
In your opinion, does it segregate the child from the parent?
No. The parents need to tone it down. They can't be too far, but they can't be too close. Which parents tend to have a little issue of getting a grasp on. See, parents are either going to be too distant, meaning they want nothing to do with their child, or are too lazy to take care of them, or too close that they end up hindering the child.
Like being too abrasive?
To railroading. And we all know how railroading goes.
Yeah, like, you can't control the aspect of your child. Right, Empress?
You can't control what they're gonna do. You should just, as long as my future offspring would, like, take care of their responsibilities, you know? They can do whatever they want. They just can't think that their parents will do everything for them throughout their life until they pass.
Like, that's one of those, like, babying them till death type of thing. You don't want to do that, because you want them to learn life on their own to a point, but you don't want to neglect them and force them to do that. Because you need a helping hand, you know, in life. Nobody is 100% at everything. You have to start from nothing to become something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the time, most parents will tend to flop that and go off their own thing, thinking, you know what, my child's going to be perfect. They're going to be all of this. They're going to be doctors, lawyers, and all of that. And that's an expectation for failure.
Like, if
you want to be a lawyer, you got to be a good liar. And here's the thing. Raising your child to be truthful and expect them to be lawyers tends not to work out well.
That is the truth.
Especially when you need them to be a doctor. What do they expect?
Doctors have to lie to patients sometimes. Like, you can't...
Whatever's best for the patient.
Yeah. I mean, there's a saying for doctors that you cannot, lie to a patient but you can't be 100% truthful. Like, you have to kind of sugarcoat it a little bit, because you can't tell a patient, hey, you're gonna die.
That's too much.
Yeah, that's...
It's like taking a jackhammer and putting it on a skull.
Yeah, you're just crushing them. You know? Like, doctors have to sugarcoat it, you know? But at the same time, getting the point of proof.
Yeah. But...
Like, so, like saying, like, if you don't have this operation, it might kill you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you have the operation, you might die.
Right.
So it's one of those, are you going to die soon on the operating table? Or are you going to die a slow, painful death?
Operating table, because you're under sedation.
I mean, everybody has their own opinions on that. Because it's like, is that really going to be your last moment? Is the doctor telling you, you have a choice, you said, you know, you signed the paper, and everything that you said, all your regrets that you said to somebody who you're probably thinking, you know, maybe I should talk to them and not let that be my final words. Like, it's one of those things that haunts people.
Yeah. But, like I was saying, back on topic, you can't expect a child to grow into that role because you don't know what...
Free will. The child has their own free will.
Yes. But at the same time, you can't expect too much out of them.
You can't expect too much, and you can't give them too little? Or is it...
More likely, you can't just leave them loose and hanging. They do need guidance. They do need to want something.
Yeah. Like, you gotta...
Like a goal or aspirations. If they want to be something, like, let's say a digital designer, and parents look at that and say, that's a waste of time. The parents are a failure already.
Yeah, because they're not looking into their own child's aspirations. You know?
I mean, I could have been a decent artist. I could have been, well, a digital character artist. And look at me now. I got nothing. I lost my aspiration for art. All that was crushed and taken from me. Because, 1, my parents aren't supportive. 2, my parents were destructive. And 3, they were either overbearing or had too much expectations. And my father has that problem.
He expects you to be something you're not?
He expects me to be more.
My mother's the same.
And you want to know what? Here's the reality of it. I can't. And don't even think that's an excuse, because I can't. He expects me to be like this hard-working man that wants to actually work my life to death. Nothing but work, work, and work. I don't want that. Because to me, all he is a workaholic, and that's all he'll ever be to me. And that's probably me being harsh. It is. Because due to a few complications between me and him, a lot of complications between me and him, a relationship between child and father, or even mother, tends to be more strenuous when their situations are not optimal. Am I right, Empress?
You are.
Are you gonna say anything to add on to that?
Parents just...
Was your parents too controlling?
My parents were always controlling, yet they wanted me to be this social butterfly and this person who could be a doctor. She always wanted me to be one. And can't be a doctor when you can't do your homework due to having to watch your siblings because your parents are too lazy, or they just don't want to watch their own kids that they decided to have. That's something that we can relate on, is having to watch our siblings for our own young lives instead of doing our own schooling and then getting in trouble for having those low grades or low self-image.
And also that, it's like, you guys never had a chance to explore your aspirations, you know? Like, what did you truly wanted to become if you wanted to, you know? Like, Julio, in his free time, he did art and stuff.
I got yelled at for doing art instead of homework.
Hmm?
I always got yelled at for doing art instead of homework, even when my homework was completely finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of parents tend to look over that little detail. Because
oh my God,
if you were to look, if you were to look at today, how many artists, like decent artists, do you know of current today?
None.
Barely any? Barely?
I don't know any.
Any current ones that you might know?
Like, know of or know personally?
Well, I mean, are they alive or dead? That is the main question.
What kind of artist?
Well, that's the thing. What's today's art?
Everything. Life is art.
Is it? Or is it all so utilitarian that you can't tell the difference anymore? Like the other day, I decided to go with my dad one time. We were heading over to check out this job site. This lady was an indoor contractor, and she showed me a design. She wanted a mid-20th century building. Now, I can tell you, in my artist opinion, and me just enjoying old classical arts, like back in the day, or propaganda art, or all that kinds of things that you might provoke thought or feelings, actual depth. The guy, the engineer, did not know the difference between modern day and mid-20th, because when I looked at it, it was not mid-20th and he thought it was.
It was probably like more of a modern, but trying to look old classic.
No, it looked lazy and boxy.
Because that's the thing.
I mean, it looks like any other regular house with a big old window. No. With mid-20th century, you gotta have long, flat slopes. Like, literally long,
and also
flat,
cobbled
stylish.
as well. You know, like, the walls are cobbled most of the time, those type of structures.
Yes.
Although it depends on which place you go to, because some places used mud brick, and some places used cobble, some places used wooden logs.
Well, the thing is, she was trying to add a little bit of a Californian style to it. Yeah. Well,
For viewers who don't know, I'm shuddering. Because Californian art style is technically the modern, which is basically minimalistic type of thing.
Yes.
Like, you don't have, you know, wood that has all of these patterns and stuff on it. Like
it was like basically
flat,
metal.
square, black and white.
Yeah. And I was looking at it, and I was confused because I was trying to say, this guy is supposed to be an engineer and architect, right?
Yeah.
How do you fuck up mid-20th century?
Because they don't have creativity.
No.
That or they're trying to embed their own pizzazz into it.
That, and either they're incompetent, or they just are plain lazy to look at a picture and look what a building, because I looked up.
Yeah.
I mean, I took 1 minute
to look it up. Here's the thing. We have technology at our fingertips, and we can look pretty much anything up.
But people are still too lazy to do that.
Yeah, like, people don't go onto .edu websites or go onto .gov websites or anything that's educational. They go onto, like...
.com.
What is another one?
.org.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it says .org, so it's educational.
No, edu and .gov are the two primary links that people should be using to research, instead of all these other people that are posting their opinion as fact.
Yeah,
Like-
and that's another problem.
And people don't even look at research papers anymore. They just believe word of mouth.
Yeah, and I'm at the point that if anybody's going to say something, I want the paper proof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to say, oh, Children are going to be fine within the next 15 years. I want to see paper proof right now. I want government-issued information. I want actual social studies.
Go on to the national, what is it? It's the health thing. Is it CDC?
Mm-hmm.
CDC, it shows a dramatic increase in depression, suicidal thoughts, and anxiety in younger generation like me and you.
Which would have landed you in a mental hospital if this was any previous generation.
Pretty much, yeah.
But we have the highest rate of depression, suicide, and anxiety than any other generation.
Yeah.
And people are saying, oh, we're going to be fine. No, we're anxious about the future because we've been told that we have a world that is dying. You know?
Yeah. And
people tell us that, you know, everything's been done, nothing can be done, space travel is impossible, going to other worlds is impossible, this and that, and we're being told what we can't do, and it doesn't give us any aspiration or hope for the future.
Yeah.
So why
you
try
live
for
in
something
a
we
very...
can't
Oh, sorry, Empress.
do? No, I was just saying, why try for something we can't do if they're getting upset that nobody's trying to do anything anymore?
And we're basically living in a very nihilistic world, and that needs to change.
Well, I mean,
Like,
here's the
very
thing.
much.
It's just like it always has been for, you know, decades, you know. The rich help the rich and the poor stay poor, you know. You will never have one of those equilibriums, you know.
Yeah.
Like, in the past, yeah, we kind of had that when we had a very high middle class. Only one guy was able to go to work, have a, you know, 9-to-5 job, and be able to afford a house,
Yeah, because back
groceries,
then...
and having 2 kids. But nowadays, because of inflation, things are so high that even with both parents working, you're struggling.
Well, it's not just inflation or just basically in that. It's also the rise in technology and also the loss in purpose and lack of guidance. Like, let's take religion for example, and I don't actually particularly enjoy religion as much because, again, that tends to be a landmine for me. So let's go ahead and step on it. Basically, from my own point of view and all of it, all I see is either fanaticism or radicalism. Because every time I step in a church or any kind of religious building, I feel like I'm about to be indoctrinated in something that I cannot walk away from.
Oh, instead of them, like, trying to slowly show you, like, this is what I'm about, they're trying to shove it down your throat and saying, this is what you should be, this and that.
Pretty much, yeah. Because before I stopped going to church, mostly because family issues and all that. This one church that's actually nearby, that one over there by Elmdale. Well, the pastor kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. Like, almost as if he was saying that I had no choice in my life. I mean, let's take an actual step back and actually look at it. See, originally God wanted us to actually have our own path, our own choice, our own free will, all of that of our own free will and choice. We
And
just only had one rule. We fucked that rule up. Now we got all these other rules, but these other rules, who knows where they came from? What if there was only still one rule? And all these other rules, all these things were just made by man. That's why I'm very so distrustful of religion. Because I don't know what's actually real, which leads to a problem because people, young people, that actually do need that kind of guidance can no longer trust it. Because we feel like we're being either indoctrinated into something that we don't believe in, or we don't trust.
And this is gonna be kind of a touchy one for some, but look on the war in Afghanistan. It's kind of feels like a war on religion, in effect, because you have Muslim extremists, you know? And when you have a religion and you become so extreme and radical on it that it makes you kill other people just because that, you know, you're forcing them not to have that free will, and you're saying you're either this religion and you're with me or you're dead.
Yeah.
That kind of pushes some people away because they think religion is all about extremists and stuff.
Yeah, and quite frank, that kind of idealism, and this is going to be the psycho side of myself that's going to say it, makes me want to take every single idea that mankind has ever taken and burn it away.
But
Because, quite frankly, the current ideas that we have are either stupid, failing, or just don't know how to work. Because some people have too many agendas. Most people just want what they want. And no one turns an eye.
I mean, here's the thing. Capitalism, in theory, should work because of the trickle-down system. But the thing is, when you have rich people hoarding money and not giving it back to their employees, that causes that division.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, there's nothing you can really do about it. Because what can you do about it? Strip the money from the wealthy? That's just going to make you seem socialist.
Yeah.
And we've seen that socialism and communism doesn't work.
It never does, it never will. And what kind of people think it does? People that don't know any better because they don't learn from history. Let's take
Either
a look
that
at
or
Russia.
people who are so far into poverty and think that that's the only hope for them. You know?
Yeah. And I can tell you, I have actually met several of our classmates that think democracy had failed. It didn't fail.
I mean,
We just don't know how to work it anymore because people have either made it too complicated or just make it look complicated.
Here's the thing. America is a, a republic democracy?
Pretty much.
Where we vote people in who vote for us, basically. We don't actually have a saying. We don't. Us citizens don't really have a saying.
Which is
The
pretty
politicians do.
Which pretty much leads to another problem.
Mm-hmm.
Itself. That kind of idea should not work. Because it's going to lead to a collapse pretty soon.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. With America being a two-party system, we will eventually have a civil war. It's not, will we, it's when. Because when you create such a political divide, you are going to have extremists on both sides, and...
Yeah, take the left and right, for example.
Yeah.
I never knew they existed till, this year.
When I got deployed to DC because of the medical extremists, that was a perfect example of what the two political party system can and will turn into.
Yes, because it's an inevitability. We're going to end up pretty soon with a third party, and that's going to be anarchists. Because they're going to view this entire system broken, and they're going to try to remove it because they know the potential danger. But the problem is, they're also a potential danger, and they don't even realize that.
I mean, America's going to get ripped in half because of that.
It's going to get ripped in a three-way, and then all the enemies of our past are going to come back and say, you know what?
Time to take them. Well, I mean, because here's the thing. America, it's originally going to get split into two, but then you're going to have, the third party of, radical anarchists who go, ooh, look at this, collapse of government, and then that's when the third party pops in.
Yeah.
It's going to start with just a two-party system. And everybody says that the two-party system is bad and stuff, but why do we keep voting for those two main? Why not vote for, like, a Green Party, independent, or...
I mean, nobody ever votes for the third party because
they don't want to do their research. They just want to vote for who's on the front page.
There's actual evidence of people that will actually vote for the first person with a name, and they wouldn't even care about an eye.
With a name that they recognize. Oh, their name is Donald. That's cool.
Yeah,
their name is Joseph.
Yeah, there was actual study about this, and they actually did a voting thing with a dog, actually. People voted for a dog as their president, and they didn't even bother looking at it. That's the level of stupidity we're working with here. And how do we expect our children to survive any further in that kind of world? I don't even expect my child to survive that world. Actually, I expect my child to go very, very angry, very violent, and probably mad at me because she thinks, Dad, your generation failed. Well, guess what? It's not my generation's fault. It's the generation before me.
And then it's one of those blaming cycles, but nobody's willing to fix it.
Yes, because it's just going to be blaming and blaming until collapse.
And then it's just going to lead to a lot of death, and more people are going to be blaming each other about it.
Yeah, until some dumbass decides, you know what, let's see if we can make purge legal. You know how that's going to end up.
The rich
Yeah.
killing the poor.
Yeah.
Pretty
Rich
much, yeah.
being in their little mansions. safe
That, or
houses.
until militias start being formed and rich people's places are going to get, ransacked and looted to death even after that kind of purge idea. Just as payback. People are going to be violent, people are going to be mean, are going to be mad, and guess what? It's going to be the fucking wastelands sooner or later.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. Humans have evolved to kill each other and to kill things, Like, that's what kind of annoys me about vegans is, like, don't kill animals, but it's like, look at predators. Tigers eat antelopes, zebras, you name it.
Only reason why we're pretty much somewhere outside the food chain is because, one, we kind of adapted our capabilities of... Not just thumbs, our capability of understanding tactics and unifying groups and understanding of technology.
I mean, remember, tactics didn't really become a thing until after the, 18th or 19th century?
Well, not actually. Tactics were used way back then,
But
just not in the way we expect. Like team tactics or hunter's tactics.
yeah.
Because they gotta understand what they're hunting and what they're doing and
Well,
what tools to use.
For me, I was talking about more warfare,
Well, we were kind of on the more predatory side of things, so hunting was pretty much the best thing to go for instead of warfare.
Because warfare tactics didn't really change until, is it the 18th or 19th century?
I'm going to have to say 16.
Well, I mean, because here's the thing. The Revolutionary War was fought with literally lines of guys shooting at each other with muskets, hoping that maybe one of the balls will wound up, instead of hitting the guy that he's aiming at, will hopefully hit the guy that's 3 guys beside him.
Yeah. And then we got sick of that.
But nowadays we have really precise weaponry, like the M4A1.
Or the AK-47.
I mean, I've shot the M4A1 because, well, military.
Yeah.
And I can hit it. I can hit a dime 300 meters away.
I've not worked a gun.
I mean, after almost 2,000 rounds, I was able to zero in my carbine to do that. Is it the M4A1 that's the carbine?
Not sure.
Anyways, either that or I'm thinking about one of the older weapons.
Might be. But after even all that, all the weapons, all that, back on subject, we might not be able to have a future if we keep this up.
I mean, we will have a future. It's just going to be a grim one where people are just trying to survive. But then again, that's what us humans naturally are meant to do. We are meant to survive and adapt. And it's one of those, the rules of evolution. Those that cannot adapt to the situation die off.
Pretty much. And
those who do thrive.
yes. But there's also another problem, our technology. People say thanks to technology we're closer together.
But the thing is, we're more far apart than ever.
Except, I can't even look at my father. And most of the time I spend my time on the phone because I don't want to be near him. the only reason why I can just look you dead in the eyes and talk to you is because you're actually worth talking to. You're basically the only human being I will actually either recognize and put down my phone and actually have a conversation. The reason why I won't give that time with my father is, well, he kind of failed at being a father.
Or is it because he doesn't respect your opinions?
That too. That, or I, at this point, just literally believe that he's trying to pick a fight with me all the damn time. Like earlier, reason why I technically was not here all the damn time, well, why I wasn't here, is, well, we were working on this gate, and he was asking me where the screws were, and I said, what screws? The 3-inch ones. I said, aren't they in the truck in the glove box? They weren't there. They weren't anywhere. And I haven't touched them. They should have been in their same spot as always.
And he was accusing you of doing something with them?
Yeah, and I said, ask yourself the question, who actually touched them? Because I wasn't the one who fucking touched them. And then he had the fucking gall, to tell me, ask yourself that. I told him, it wasn't fucking me.
I mean, the main question is like, well, else could it be? Instead of pointing fingers, it's like, well, where else could it be?
And the thing is, it was in a frickin' bag. A little lunch bag that I did not know that was in the truck.
Was it in the glove box?
No, it was not in the glove box.
Or was it like somewhere in the seats?
No.
Oh, in his toolbox that's like in the back of the truck?
No. It was in front of his seat in a little lunch bag.
Well, it's one of those moments where it's like, well, I told you I didn't touch it, I told you so.
I tried saying that. All he wants to do is accuse me, continue on his own path. And he, earlier today, before all this, he thought it was a good idea. Julio, should we make a company? I didn't answer him. And he wonders why. Well, do you think it was a good idea?
Why have a company when your workers can't even communicate right? Let alone, instead of, taking responsibility for your own actions, pinning the blame on somebody else.
Exactly. That company was doomed to fail as soon as it started. And I knew it. And that's probably me sounding like an asshole. Well, I was raised by assholes.
Casual Mondays.
Yeah. And you know what? I just consider it unfair. Because I could have been more. I could have been a physical athlete. I could have been, well, more. But I couldn't. Because a child had to sacrifice everything for not only his mother, but his father as well. So at this point, I don't care if I make him proud or not. His pride doesn't register anymore. He had a long time to be proud of me. The only time he'll ever say it is when he wants to cheer me up. And it never works. I mean, I survived high school.
So did I, and I survived basic and AIT.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, you achieved more than me. I mean, you got a girlfriend, you got a home.
Even though I live with my mother, because I'll never be able to financially afford a home on my own, even with my girlfriend, we will never be able to afford a home on our own, but...
Yeah. Thing is, I recently made my second account fulfilling a promise that I made to my ex. That I would make a second savings account and put $13,000 and move to Texas.
Are you gonna move to Texas?
No. I can't leave anymore. I have no reason to leave anymore. But the reason why I'm stuck here in Arkansas is because I can't leave as much as I want to, because there are too many painful memories. This is the only place I know. This place is my prison.
And escaping outward is something that you wouldn't be able to comprehend.
Pretty much. It will be like that scene from Shawshank, I think. Redemption? Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be Shawshank Redemption. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't cope.
Alright, we're gonna move on to the... Not to, like, cut you off about your stuff, but we're 40 minutes in, and we're kind of gonna talk about death and the insanity part, because we've been mostly talking about life and the struggles of it.
Alright.
But death is its own, how would I be able to say it? Its own craziness of ideas. Ideologies, as a matter of fact. Because it's one of those, it's hard to comprehend the existence of nothingness. Your own conscious cannot accept the fact that it cannot be there. Like, we can talk and think about it, but the thing is, it's impossible for you to think about nothing. Because in your mind, there's always something.
Always. I mean, at this point in time, who knows? We could be just in deja vu.
I mean, it's one of those things that you have to think about, because it's like, right now it's like, are we in a simulation? Are we dead, just reliving our memories, moments by moments? And yet, outside of this is nothingness? Or is it a continuous loop of reliving your life over and over and over again? Because each time as your conscious dies, it just reloops.
Yeah.
But the most terrifying thought is being in a simulation. Like, are you experiencing life just at, like, 1 minute at a time? But in reality, it's like an hour here is like a second in... What would it be, like, the real reality? If this is a simulation, like, what is out there?
What the fuck?
What?
I found a second stack of diamonds.
Oh my. You still play Minecraft?
Of course I still play Minecraft.
I mean, you play Minecraft while doing the podcast.
I mean, that or play Free Blade. But then again, like you were saying, if it was all a simulation, then it's got to be one big old joke for the person who's playing it. Because clearly, some of us are living on the hardest difficulty. And, quite frankly, I'm kind of sick and tired of being on this difficulty. And I can tell you, I'm so tired, in fact, that one more thought of that might cause me to go into a psychopathic state. But at the same time, may understand, because I'm actually quite on good terms with the thought of death with myself. I don't mind the thought of it. It doesn't really particularly scare me. What does scare me is the aftermath. It's what happens after. Because where do we go? You don't know? Who's going to take care of your stuff? Who's going to take care of your family? Who's going to take care of your dead business? No one.
It's also one of those creating a legacy. Like, your entire point is to live on, but how can you truly live on if eventually your legacy and word of mouth, even your name, will be nothing? It will vanish eventually. Somebody will speak your name and who you are for the last time. Maybe it could be 100 years after your death. Maybe 200. Sad thing is, it could even be 20 or 5. You could be a nobody, dying on the street of an overdose. Somebody calls you John Doe, and that's the last time your name will ever be spoken.
Yeah.
That's a scary part of death. That's a scary thought as well, is that somebody will speak your name for the last time. And the thing is, nobody will really know who you are. Nobody will know your life story. Nobody will be able to know what you felt in your life, all the struggles that you've been through, all the work that you've done to get to where you've been. Nobody will ever know that, except for you.
And that's one of my greatest fears, is because I'm not scared of death. I'm scared of being forgotten. It's second to being alone. Because what's the point of being anything if you can't be remembered for something?
In my life, in the military, I've always embraced death because if we go out onto a battlefield, we never knew if we were gonna live or die. You know, we never knew if we would see each other again type of moments. And it's one of those, you know, how is he gonna be remembered? You know, how is my battle buddy, John Doe over there? Is he gonna be remembered as the guy who got blown up by an IED? Or is he gonna be the one that gets remembered as taking a bullet for his friend or getting ambushed?
Yeah.
Either that, or is he gonna go on, retire, and be forgotten as that one guy who was, you know, out in the battlefield?
Yeah.
Because in the army, we've always been taught, you know, to embrace death and no matter what, keep going. Because the mission comes first, you know. And, I mean, it makes sense, you know, you want to complete the mission. And at the same time, it's like, your life isn't valuable.
You're expendable.
Yes.
And that can be an issue in some cases, because I might be selfish about this, but sometimes the mission shouldn't always come first. Unless it's of importance of saving more lives than anything. If it's going to risk more lives, is the mission really worth it?
An acceptable casualty rate for a mission is 90%. You could have 100 soldiers and 90 of them die, and as long as you complete the mission with 10 guys, it is considered a success.
To me, that sounds like a slaughter.
It can be. And sometimes it is. And people don't understand that that is the sacrifice us in the military are willing to make. You know, those moments where, even though I might die, and so would my battle buddy, but at least that one guy is able to take out that one sniper, then maybe the mission would be successful and it wouldn't all be for nothing.
What the hell did you guys do?
The cooked ramen.
It don't smell like ramen. It smells like nail polish remover.
Oh.
That could be my scallops.
You want to say hi to the podcast since you decided to interrupt it?
Hi. Now bye.
Yeah, that's always the scary thing is, you know, when you're sent out on a mission that, you know, your entire squad could be slaughtered, but as long as so many people are still alive and complete the mission, then it's successful.
Yeah.
That's always a scary thought. And the thing is, it's like, would you be remembered? I would, after your death, and somebody puts the flag that they gave to your family after you died in combat, they put that in the storage.
In the storage unit and let it collect dust, and that's a scary thought. Because
And eventually, your great-grandchild will open up the lock and be like, whose flag is this? And they won't even know that was your flag that they gave to your wife, or mother, or sister. They gave that flag to them when you died at your funeral. And that's a scary thought. But sometimes what I find peaceful is dying in my sleep, though. It's a very peaceful way to go. And if I'm at home with my family, I'll distraught them for a little bit because that's loss, that's grief. You will always have that sadness in you, because that grief is love that you're unable to give to them anymore. That is all the pent-up love that you have and you're unable to give it to them anymore. Because you will never talk to that person again. The scariest thought of that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that terrifies me the most, is having somebody grieve for me. You know that?
Yeah, I do, but the thing is, I wouldn't know how to comprehend it. See, in my life, I kind of can't comprehend it. So, there might be denial in me or anything.
The 7 stages of grief.
Could be, but at the end of the day, it could just be denial and nothing. It could be someone very close to me, and I would probably not bat an eye. I kind of hate myself for that.
2020 has desensitized a lot of people to death. Me, I'm already desensitized because, being in the military, desensitized to it. In nursing, I'm even more desensitized to it because I see it all the time.
Yeah.
I'll be talking with one of the patients. They tell me what they want for lunch. And as I go to do rounds and get blood pressure and stuff, come to the room and they're dead from a brain hemorrhage. Just like that.
Ouch. Just ouch.
It wasn't even 10 minutes. It was not even 10 minutes. They were gone. That was the first death I've had as a nurse. Since then, there's been a multitude of ones, from falling and busting their heads, to some of them dying peacefully, some of them heart attacks and strokes, and some of them because they decided, I'm gonna pull my IV when I'm on blood thinners and bleed out. It's happened. It's happened. You see a lot of shit. You deal with a lot of shit.
The thing is, I wouldn't even have the correct response to that. Which is why I'm staying my tongue a lot, because when it comes to terms of death or people just doing something like that, a lot of things tend to rush in my head, so I might end up saying something that not only offends someone, but probably defend my own sense of self.
I mean, sometimes it's hard for people to imagine, like, how can somebody fall and bust their head while you guys are right there? But at the same time, when you're short-staffed, you can't constantly be a Hawkeye on everybody, because you have to do charting, you have to do paperwork and stuff. Like, you have to do stuff that gets your eyes off of them. And because that, somebody falls, busts their head, you don't even hear it sometimes because it's chaotic. Some people are screaming. And you don't even know until you enter the room. First thing that comes to mind, fuck. Every single fucking time. The first word that comes into my head is fuck. And I don't know if that's a okay response. I genuinely don't. But that's my own personal response. And it's chaotic. Always is, always will be.
Yeah.
But you haven't had much experience with death, have you?
I was kind of shielded from that. I wasn't even allowed to go to a funeral of someone that I didn't even know. I probably wouldn't even have cared.
Yeah.
They probably would have been right.
You want to know what's the saddest thing about being desensitized from death is? When you go to your own uncle's funeral and you don't bat an eye. You don't feel anything. You just see a corpse. You know it's a corpse. You can tell, a lifeless body just laying there.
Yeah.
Your mind is like, well, what can you do?
It's kind of sad and unfair because you're supposed to feel something.
Like, you're supposed to feel sad that you lost them, but at the same time, you're so desensitized from it. But the thing is, like, you want to feel something. You want to cry because you knew who they were. You talked to them, you've had Thanksgiving with them, you've had Christmases with them, 4th of Julys and stuff.
You feel like it's not fair. It's not fair to them. They deserve to be grieved.
Yeah.
You just can't bring yourself to do so.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those that kind of makes you feel like a monster, like not human. Not being able to grieve because your mind just doesn't think that it's needed.
Yeah.
Like, some of the patients that I've cared for and died, like I mean, I hear the news of them, and yeah, I'm just like, shit, that sucks. They didn't make it. Because I don't know what happens after I clock out. Unless somebody tells me. Like, I don't know if that patient is, gonna go home. I don't know if they're gonna go to a long-term care facility. Or what, I don't know. And the thing is, some of them you have really good conversations with, and some of them you really connect. Kind of pulls a little bit of your heartstrings. And then find out, well, they didn't make it, Shit.
It's like losing more of a friend than anything else, because that's something you probably won't get back for a long time.
I mean, sometimes it does feel like losing a friend because, some of them, they've been there for a good hot few days because, trying to slowly recover while having to be monitored. You talk to them, they talk about their family, sometimes their life stories. Like one guy who was a Korean veteran. Talked to him, talked about, my story in the Army and stuff. He was also in the Army. He was a Purple Heart when he was in Korea. He was shot in the thigh. Couldn't really walk that well because it destroyed his hip and stuff. You know, you learn a lot about him, you know. And a few days later, come back to work. Ask, oh, hey, did he finally go home? No, he just died. Natural cause. Little shit. One of those things that just kind of hits you in the gut, but you don't cry over it because your body just doesn't want you to cry. You know, you just sit there and go, shit.
Yeah. And it's kind of difficult because I'll admit this, I don't really truly recognize myself as human anymore. I kind of stopped registering that. So basically trying to connect with some stories, especially stories of death, stories of potential great people that you're supposed to know or may have potentially known or may know, and you know it's not fair to them that you don't get the chance to hear any of their stories and care about it, because I don't. And I hate myself for that.
Well, sometimes the main question is, what makes us human? What is human?
Clearly being sucky at it.
That's the thing, we will never know what is human. Psychiatrists can, you know, say, oh, this is what makes a human, but you will never truly know. Like, are we just a consciousness? Are we just a brain that's controlling a huge, giant skeleton system? Or are we something else? Have that level of cognitive ability? You know, there's always that question of, do other animals understand their own existence? Do they have their own existential crisis of realizing you're going to die one day and nobody knows what happens after death, because after death it's dead. You can't bring somebody back from the dead, and nobody's immortal.
This does not make any sense. Protection to impaling. What?
Huh? Oh, projectile protection is protecting you from arrows. Impaling is used on a trident and also crossbow. But on that note, we're going to end the podcast, and Empress left about like half an hour.
Yeah.
Because she got a phone call.
So we're gonna go ahead and end it there. I'm probably gonna have to rethink a few things right now.
Yeah.
I kind of got quiet there at the end. I'm sorry about that.
Kind of took life on to a bit of a slideshow there. But hopefully, with next week's podcast, we can kind of be a bit more energetic, you know, and talk about more crazy things instead of, you know, being kind of depressed on life and death type of scenario. Because after all, this is life, death, and insanity. Although this introduction, we mainly talked about life and death, you know.
Or mistakes of parenting.
Well, parenting is part of life, you know. That's the beauty of it, you know, because life is a wide variety of things, you know. It can be from flowers or just an infant growing, but, you know, the insanity part is also like talking about the factors that can interfere with that type of thing, you know, like...
Right.
One of those things you gotta think about, you know, the right way to raise a child. Is there even a right way? Because everybody's different. You know, there's always that power of free will and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know we did talk about a good deal of death. You know, especially like, you know, the feeling of it. Well, the perturbed feeling, and being desensitized to it, and some people, you know.
Some people will possibly be a little bit angry about that. A lot of people will probably understand us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of those you gotta, you know, be open-minded about, you know, because some people are truly desensitized to it because when you've dealt with it for so much, what can you really do about it, you know? It's just one of those things. So, that's where we're going to end it off. Hopefully, you know, next week's episode is going to be a bit more fun, energetic, you know, less depressing. Because I know that we've hit a lot of touchy topics today, so I'm going to hope that next week's topic is going to be a lot more fun, more energetic, and not be on to the slight depressing stuff, you know? At least that's the hope.
Yeah. Possibly tackle a possible anarchy subject, or...
Oh yeah, and we can talk about a lot more theoretical questions, you know, like... I mean, we can talk about, like, the interesting dynamics of the human consciousness, like that. One video game, what was it?
Among Us?
No, not Among Us. We talked about it yesterday. We were talking about it yesterday when we were doing podcast ideas.
Right. Shit, I forgot.
But we will go into more topics like that. And, yeah, hopefully it'll be a much better, much relaxing podcast than this one. Even though this is the introductory, but you gotta get through hard times before you get to the good times. Am I right?
Exactly.
You know? So, with that out of the way, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you want to, or don't. I don't give a shit. I don't get paid to give a shit.
This is all free, folks.
This is free entertainment for you and me.
Yep.
And if you guys want us to talk about anything that's crazy or wacky, or if you even want to input your own type of discussion into the comments, go ahead and feel free to. That'd be greatly appreciated. And I'll most likely respond, and so might the new master.
New starter. I mean, seriously, man.
I'm sorry, they both. I at least got the noob, okay? I at least got the noob part.
Just call me noob, man. Just noob.
Just noob.
Because I am not a noob master. That title's already taken.
Oh,
This is New Starter 48, and I'll be out there roaming the YouTube comments.
okay then. But yes, if you guys have anything to add, or if you guys want to have your own discussion in the comments, feel free. Just remember to keep an open mind, and have a good day. See ya. You want to say anything else?
No, that was it.
Alright. Bye-bye.
Bye.